Welcome to episode 56 of Powerbombshells. I am Sam. That is Mel. We are just two not your average broads talking about not your average wrestling things. And I guess before we get into that, happy belated St. Patrick's Day. You and I are both festive 2 days later.
I'm festive all week. I have a genealogy. I know where my family came from.
Right.
I'm not one of these Irish posers. No, I'm a total Irish poser. Come on.
Yes.
No. I know what year they came into this country. No. But
I know that my family. I know that some of my family on my dad's side originated in both Germany and Ireland, and so I know like that much. But I don't have a lot of the. I need to get into the genealogy and look more into it. But yeah,
I didn't find out until I was like, we're planning a trip there, and my mother's like, "Oh, in your grandma's genealogy." I'm like, "Thanks for telling me."
She's like, better late than never. I do like that hat though.
Thank you. I went with. I have another one that we'll use next year maybe, but it's a little lighter on my head, which is good. But also, kind of going with the fedora because wrestling Twitter has been a lot of like fedoras and neckbeards and stuff this week. So it's just I felt like it was kind of a cry. It was a mashable.
It works. And I was like, well, I'll go with the Kyle O'Reilly one because I was like, well, they were in Canada this week and it's got the little maple leaf up here. And nice. Then I was like, and it makes me sad every time that All Access ad comes up and Adam Cole's in the ring talking to Kyle O'Reilly, like, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to wrestle again. And I'm like, Adam, and then Kyle's like on his face, like, yeah, me too. I don't know. I'm still struggling to get back as well. And every single time that look on Kyle's face is like, yeah, bro, I get it.
That's terrible.
So I was like, well, we'll shout out Kyle O'Reilly today. I miss him. He's one of my favorites.
We miss you. Come back.
Daza is back. Yay. Finally.
Hey, welcome back, Daza.
3 whole episodes that Daza missed. I hope that you had a great trip and a wonderful birthday.
She took the words right out of my mouth. I was just going to wish you a happy birthday. And it looked like you guys had a blast, which is the most important thing.
Of course.
So. Yeah. And that was our little history / intro to our festivities for that. You know what? I'm not gonna lie. It's my grandma used to do all the like corned beef and cabbage and stuff.
Yeah, we did corned beef on Friday,
and I just love that meal. So I'm like every year.
Daza said he's messaging from his work break. Got 15 minutes before I gotta go back. Oh,
we appreciate you swinging in. That's so cool.
Thanks. Cool, and Brad said Brad has made it. He's here. Hey, Brad, thank you for coming. Daza said he had a blast. Thank you. I'm glad that you did.
That's excellent.
And I was when I circle back to your thing about the corned beef, because we did corned beef on Friday night, and my mom said that she was watching something, and they were saying that that's actually not a traditional Irish meal.
Not. It's an American
somehow
thing.
They don't know how. So I was like, well, maybe I was like, was it like in one certain place in Ireland, like that's just what they did? So then they brought it here, and everybody just assumed.
No. You ready? I know the answer.
Oh, please tell me. Please do.
Irish history time, everybody. In Ireland, it's actually usually a boiled side of bacon, which is freaking awesome. And I've had it in Ireland.
I was like, that
sounds
amazing. Delicious. Why don't we have that?
And it tastes similar. It's got a similar texture, but it's a bacon side. And when the Irish immigrants came here to the nation, they didn't have bacon side was expensive.
Right.
So basically they came up with this corn. It's essentially like the process of doing like the corned beef and getting it to sort of loosen up a little bit. And they found another cut of beef that was similar and it was cheap at the time.
Right. Yeah. I was gonna say it was affordable.
Back in the day, it's like, this is like from growing up in Maine, lobster, they charge $8 million for lobster right on the menu. It used to be poor people food.
Yeah.
They used to relegated the poor people to it. And so for just a century that was like poor people food, and then suddenly it was like, oh, we got to get rid of some of these excess lobsters. So in this case it was just about like supply and demand. It was like didn't have bacon side, had to come up with an alternative,
and so they went with the cheap version.
They went with something that they could find that was the alt. And I would love to do a bacon side Samir.
That's delicious.
But oh my gosh, get me started on the food in Ireland. Holy crap. Bob and I often miss Irish breakfast which in Ireland they just call breakfast, of course.
Of course. I'm gonna end up hungry.
I know, right? If we could. So that was your more Irish history with the Powerbombshells. Totally.
And I do want to throw this up here. Nikki does have minor beef with Kyle O'Reilly. It's nothing bad, but yeah. I don't know if she wants me to tell the beef or if she. It's nothing really that bad. It was just.
Well, she put it up there. I mean, it's like out in the public comments.
Brad said that's like in China. Chinese food is just food.
Yeah. I actually, the reason I had to make that joke was as the gals were out in their Canadian tuxedos in Winnipeg this week, I was like,
oh, I noticed that they were in their, I was like, look at them in their Canadian tuxedos.
So we were in the Discord on the thread talking about, because we had the Dynamite thread, and I was like, oh, they're all wearing Canadian tuxedos. And one of the Canadians in our group was like, in Canada, we just call it a tuxedo. Like, I love you guys so much.
That's great. So awesome. Yeah, because Renee's Twitter bio used to be Canadian tuxedo aficionado. Used to be her in her bio. I don't know if it still is. I feel like she changed it, but that was her bio for a really long time.
You'll love this story. Here's another way to get you hungry. All right. So out at our pizzeria back in the day, we had on the menu, one of our pizzas was called the Canadian tuxedo, and it was like the pineapple and ham or Canadian bacon one.
I would not. Yeah, I don't do ham.
But people like pineapple. We did all homemade.
Nikki would like that pizza. I don't care for pineapple. I don't believe that pineapple should be on pizza. So Nikki,
we served the Nikki side of the world, and we made pizza for everyone. Was very
right.
But we were north of Seattle, so Vancouver, and so the West Coast Canadians came down all the time, and I can't tell you how many offended Canadians there were on
because of that pizza name.
What? Well, why do you call it a Canadian tuxedo? And it's like, have you guys never heard? Okay, forget it. Just forget it. It's like, but we'd also get the Canadians that got it and thought it was great. So we were like vindicated by the Canadians that were like, that's amazing. Thank you for putting that on there. And we're like, party on. We love you, Canada. You're our pals. Like,
right.
You know, we're your friends, buddy. I'm not your buddy, pal. It's cool. I'm actually hoping to go to Canada.
I know.
In the not too distant future. Say around June 25th for Forbidden Door 2.
Yeah. Funny how that, because I messaged Mel and I was like, hey, did you, and I wasn't thinking about the closeness. I was thinking, because I knew you'd been waiting, and I was like, wait a minute. I was like, let me tell Mel, because I don't know if she's seen it yet. And she was like, hell yeah, I'm going. I was like, oh, that's right. Detroit is not far.
I originally thought it was 5. I mapped it. It's like 3.5. I'm like, going. Now there's there's a border crossing, but we have there's a bridge right in downtown Detroit, and then right by us there's another bridge. But there's the bridge to Canada that is a big deal down here, and it's right here. I mean, we went to, for our anniversary, the restaurant we went to, we were like by the bridge. And we were looking at Canada. It's like, look, Canada. So, and you just follow that route and you get right there. And I mean, it's the hotel pricing is a little steep, but it looks like you can kind of hang around the area. So I'm going to work that. But the big trick is going to be making sure and get some luck of the. I'm going to get some totally luck of the Irish, totally cliche, her, and get in on some Forbidden Door tickets this
I know. And
Thursday, Friday.
Our good friend Josiah is also trying to get tickets as well. He said that he nearly screamed because I sent the tweet to multiple Slacks when I saw it. He's in Canada. He said the other day where he's at, but I think he said he's on the opposite side from you. He's in Canada, but I think he said he's on the opposite side. He was trying to explain the other day, and I can't.
Closer to the East Coast or closer to the West Coast?
Yeah, I think so. I believe that is correct. But yeah, so Josiah's trying to go. He was he's like, I think I have a friend I can stay with, and he was like, I can take public transportation. That'll save me some money.
Yeah, it looks like that train goes right to the center. I've been bugging some of the people I know behind this. Like, I'm like, have you been to this place? Do you know this place? Are you?
So yeah, he was marking out, and he's like, okay, I have to go to work. And then he's like, I got to work on some stuff, and I'll come mark out later. And then he came back like 5 minutes later. He's like, hold on, I have to mark out one more time. What if we get Okada Omega again? Okay, I'm leaving. So he's pretty hyped too. So I hope all of you can get tickets because
we were thinking Kenny and Will too. The problem right now is his shoulder injury going to affect?
Well, and then there was also the rumor has been that they may do Okada Mercedes Moné versus Omega Shida. Has also been a rumor because Kenny has talked about how they do allow intergender wrestling, or not intergender, mixed match.
Tag.
Thank you. Mixed tag matches. Good Lord, I can't get it out. In Japan, but then she has hinted, and even again a few days ago hinted at it again about Forbidden Door too. So that I don't know that I think that might just be a fan dream match thing, but that is a rumor that's out there. And I was like, well, if it was going to happen, that would probably be the best place for it, unless they're going to do it in the Tokyo Dome, which is the only other place I think that they could do.
Yeah. And I was actually saying that. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like before. Yeah. I know YouTube comments are. I know YouTube comments are on a delay, and so, but Brad said bacon and pineapple on pizza was life-changing for me. I was against pineapple on pizza before I had that, but I've had bacon on pizza, and bacon and pepperoni is great, but pineapple.
This pizza worked because we used Canadian bacon and pineapple, and then I forget which other things we put. I think there was some onion on there. We had it's been a while, but we had a lot of just really, like, I love the smell of them when they were cooking. I wouldn't necessarily, like, I'm not a pineapple pizza, like, I've tried it, it's not my jam. I don't have this, like, I don't get into, like, is Die Hard a Christmas movie and does pineapple belong on pizza kind of debate from people, because you're never going to change those people's minds.
No.
But yeah, no, it worked, and it was such a fun name, and it was so great to see, like, the combination of reactions that we were constantly getting to it. And I was like, you know what? You're talking to me about it, so it's working. I win.
True. There you go. So Daza says that they should do an IWGP women's title match at Forbidden Door 2. Yeah, I would like that to happen, but we know how.
They should do that, actually.
They should. I would actually.
But they did a women's match last year. That would be a women's match that I think would keep people. And it's no offense to Toni Storm and Thunder Rosa, but
so because I think Shida Mercedes there.
People, maybe
would they do it as? I wonder if they would do it as Shida, or somebody said that Mercedes confronted Jamie. She could. She did. I guess they're saying that the Forbidden Door that Mercedes could confront Jamie Hayter. I mean, that's possible too. They could do that if Jamie's got the title then, because it's in June, so we're only a few months away from that. So that's certainly possible, and that would actually be a really good match. I think that would be.
Plus, we're jumping. I mean, it's so far away. Like, we're jumping Double or Nothing, which is a huge show usually. There's usually stuff on it that. But that may not affect the women's stuff as much as it affects the men's stuff.
Right.
So
that's true too. Yeah. And because he's going to book, even though he's going to book for Forbidden Door, he's obviously going to book for AEW first, just like they're going to book for New Japan first, and then figure out, like, and it's more or less, I mean, Forbidden Door is more or less dream matches, and not necessarily, I mean, but I can see an IWGP women's title match happening there. And so that's certainly possible. I'm really excited though. And they're doing, and what's really cool about it, I like that they're doing the month-long excursion.
Yeah, that was really
Canada.
Cool.
And so, and that they're kicking, like, I thought that they would close with Forbidden Door, but they're kicking off with Forbidden Door. And then they're doing they're doing, I think it's 5 shows between June and July. And then they're closing with a house show, but it's part of the Calgary Stampede is how they're doing it, which I think is really cool that they're doing the Calgary Stampede.
I just realized as you laid that out, they did a very similar thing that right after the Madison Square Garden card, they had because that was a G1.
Oh, right.
They did a thing in Dallas that kicked off the G1 tournament that year. and then they went back to Japan and did their regular tour.
Right.
This has similar vibe to that.
Well, see, my guess...
And if it ends in July, that's right around the time the G1 starts. So
well,
you could do a bunch of even crossover storyline at Forbidden Door that sets people up like... Does someone in AEW end up in the tournament this year? Because now that the cheering's back,
right,
most of the people that didn't want to go until the cheering was back are going to probably want to go. I mean, the big dream match is obviously the Danielson Zack Sabre Jr. match, and Zack is in a position to, like, he's got a belt that is
right.
It's the TV title, so it's easily winnable. Right. By someone else and then regained in Japan.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, setting up that stuff, which it definitely could, but my guess was that this is where they're doing the Owen Cup. That they're going to do the Owen Cup in Canada.
That'd be great.
That they're going to do the men and women's. I thought that was going to be...
I was wondering about what you were wondering about.
I was wondering if they were... Because I'd actually... Somebody brought it up like a week or two ago, and they were like, should they be announcing the Owen Cup soon? And then I'd actually been thinking of it the day that the announcement came out. So I thought Wednesday that they were going to make the announcement that they're going to start with... they're going to start the Owen Cup while they're in Canada, but that didn't get made. So I'm wondering, though, if they're gonna, or even if it starts before they go to Canada and then like a majority of the matches happen while they're in Canada. And I was like, and this was obviously before Taya's debut, but the rumor was that Taya would be there that night. So I was like, well, then Taya would make perfect sense, because if they're bringing her in, not necessarily that she wins the Owen Cup, but she could for the
but they could kick it off there too as part of the excursion, where they had their own mini tournament inside their excursion to set up. Like,
right, and
because they could plug the G1 and potentially send people there if they're going to keep strengthening it. I mean,
yeah, they could do a lot. So it seems like it's a very strategic thing that they're doing it, when they're doing it, and how they're doing it. And it seems like it's, I mean, obviously it's being able to tour Canada, and it makes it easier to kind of do like the month-long excursion, but it feels like it's because they're going to do something else, whether it's setting up for G1 or they're doing the Owen Cup while they're in Canada, or maybe both.
Which would be honestly be great.
Yeah, I agree. So Brad said he wants to see what happens with Moxley and Shota now that BCC are full on heels and Shota is a monster face while Moxley disowned his adopted son.
Dude, have you been watching? Okay, so
I'm stuck. So I have watched the first round of the Cup. I have not watched the second round. That's on my list. I was planning to get to it sooner. The one thing that I do know from the second round is I know what happened. I don't know the details of what happened. I just know that Sonata is not in LJ anymore, because I opened Instagram and
silly Sam. I was gonna say I'm caught up to. I'm pretty much. I think I'm caught up.
Yeah, Sonata posted
all the way Instagram, caught up now.
And then you know how Google Translate and Instagram Translate are the same thing. So I was reading it and I'm trying to like figure out. I was like trying to understand what was happening, and then because I didn't really pay attention to the picture, I just saw that it was Sonata, and then I was like, wait a minute, that's just 4 guys that he's in the picture with. And I had seen in his story, he had posted a picture with Tai Chi and it said something about YouTube. So I just assumed I didn't click the translate button like I normally do on Sonata stories. So I was like, oh, he just must be on Tai Chi's YouTube page. And then I saw that post a little bit later and I was like, see, I don't even know who's in the Final 4, but now I do. But it's okay. Brad said he's watching today's show. Shota and ZSJ are having a very fun feud right now.
Oh my gosh, my favorite Brad, Zach is my favorite wrestler. my favorite wrestler right this minute, like just to watch and enjoy, is Zack Sabre Jr. and TMDK. Like him doing all the. I kind of roll through the undercard. I don't watch it, but I'll like if stuff stops me. And there has been stories.
Well, and that's how I had the only way I could quickly get through it was to skip all the undercard. I had to go straight to the tournament
it's tricky. I've been
and I knew that was going to happen. I always there's always good undercard stuff, especially.
But I can always fill you in.
Yes, that is true. You can.
Because I can spend a little more time on it during the day because I don't have like, normal people. And I can fill my time with other things. Right. And actually, I'm really shocked. I'm not usually this caught up, but I've been enjoying it so much. And the Zack Shota feud,
that's fun.
Okay, so I'm just going to recommend, these are my matches that you have to see. Okay. No matter what you do, is of course the Zack and
let me get my notes ready so good. I can put this down in here.
Good. So you ready?
Yep.
So the Zack and Shota match, of course, you need to watch that one.
From today or Or from the
tournament.
From the tournament, yeah. Well, yeah, I'm gonna watch all the tournament matches, but yes, okay, I will make sure I watch that.
These are the most important ones that I've watched so far, in my opinion, obviously. But the other one that was a sleeper, Goto and Kyle Fletcher, which I'm sure you're not surprised about.
No.
Sleeper, good match. I really enjoyed it. Not like, oh my God, the great. Definitely make sure you don't skip through it, though. It was a good match. Like, I was shocked, and actually, like, when I was, like, watching the match, I was having audible reactions to it, which 50-50.
I feel like Goto is so underrated.
He's another one like Ishii who...
Yeah, Goto will
does his job.
He always puts on solid matches, but he will just go out there and have, like, banger matches that you don't, like, you're like... He always reminds people.
Total sleeper, because you wouldn't look at the list. If you like were rushing through, you wouldn't look at the list necessarily. You go, I gotta see that match. Mark Davis and Kyle Fletcher are they're already, I get it, like Aussie Open are already, we get it. Like
Nikki and I are huge Aussie Open fans.
Holy crap, are they good singles wrestlers?
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm kind of... I think I've decided that I'm kind of a purist and I really like the singles wrestling the best. So but tag team is in a great place.
I love tag team wrestling.
Our tag team wrestling right now, I mean, I'm happy to have
Aussie Open is one of my favorite tag teams. I think they're one of the best out. And so, like, that match that's happening at the Multiverse has like 4 of my favorite tag teams in it. And I died when I saw that match. And I was telling one of the guys in Slack, he was like, I bet your eyes like popped out of your head when you saw that, didn't it? I was like, yes, because it's Aussie Open, it's ABC, which is Chris Bay and Austin.
Oh yeah.
Ace Austin. It's Motor City, and it's TMDK, which is Bad Dude Tito and Shane Haste.
Okay, well, I'm in on that. See, that right there is all people I love those.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I saw that match and I was like, yeah.
I don't care who wins that match. Nope. I was looking at that card.
I think that is a title match, though, I believe, because Ace Austin and Chris Bay won the tag team titles from Motor City like 3 weeks ago. And the only reason, because I love Bay and Austin, but the thing that I want belt collector Motor City, and Motor City just got the GCW tag titles, and so I was like, Impact, you're messing it up.
I hope to put
it back.
It's so funny because you've got to come visit me.
I do got to come visit you,
because I swear to God, Alex Shelley has been at just about every wrestling show that I've been to. Like, he is somehow, like, he either shows up on the undercard and says hi to everybody at the LCA, or I love, it's not like just that how great he is as a wrestler, it's how involved he is in the wrestling community around here. Like, he's always around. I'm like, I love this guy. And I've seen him do stuff on cards and stuff. He's always, but man, I'm like, Sam needs to visit us.
I do.
He needs to visit us during like a wrestling time.
Yeah, for real.
So that Alex Shelley can randomly show up on a card and she can mark out.
Listen, Brad, quit trying to dash my belt collector dreams. Brad thinks that Motor City is going to lose the GCW titles to Nick Wayne and Jordan Oliver, which is the East West Express. And
maybe they'll get elevated. Maybe they'll show up on the Forbidden Door pre-show, and I
just want them to have all the.
They still have the Impact. They still have the Impact.
Yeah, but then they could have. But I want them to have Impact and GCW and AEW and New Japan. I just want them to have. I just want them to be belt collectors.
But they can.
That's just what I want.
They could show up to Toronto and Detroit are so close together.
They could. Oh my God! Oh my God!
but you get to see it, and it's like
No, and I do, and I do love Nick Wayne and Jordan Oliver. Jordan Oliver is, I mean, Nick Wayne gets a lot of buzz because of how young he is, and he should, rightfully so. But God, Jordan Oliver is so freaking good, and he's just gotten better. And one of these days I'm going to finish the Jersey J Cup, and I should have started. I was going to finish the round 1 of Jersey J Cup the other day, and then I was like, you know what, I'm going to watch GCW, and I ended up watching part of Friday night show. I have not seen the whole thing, but I will say this real quick. Masha Slamovich won the GCW heavyweight title off of Nick Gage. She is the first woman to ever hold that title, which I think is incredible. And I cannot wait to see that match. And I was like, shout out to GCW for doing that and putting that title on her, because
they do get out with that stuff. That's something I really like about them.
Me too. And they let her, and they just let Masha be Masha there, which I think is a really cool thing. And I am very excited for her.
Yeah, GCW is.
Yeah.
deal, really.
Yeah.
I mean, that's their deal.
Yeah, so I am well typically and they're but they are a company that typically only has sometimes they'll have two matches featuring women. Generally, sometimes it's just one. Sometimes it's just Alley Catch is the only one. Sometimes I mean they have Billy Stark. So I mean they do seem to put in. I like the effort that they put in with him, and I really enjoy.
The women feel involved in the product, I guess.
Yeah, well they do, and like Friday night had a couple. Brad said I'm happy for her, but I was hoping asshole Hill Blake Christian was going to win it. Well, asshole Blake Christian has already. I saw him on Twitter saying that he was coming for her. So
there you go.
And it was funny because I was tweeting the other night because we'll get to the ROH stuff in a minute, but Blake Christian is a babyface in ROH, and so and then I watched. I did get far enough into GCW show Friday night that I got to see asshole Hill Blake Christian, so I got to see the whole dichotomy of Blake Christian in 24 hours. But it was
so
great.
Weird.
Yeah, it is, but I love it. He's so good at it. He's very.
I like bouncing around. This is the time of year. It's coming up, obviously, on WrestleMania, and there's all the events around it. And Multiverse is one of the shows. Bloodsport is obviously one of the shows that's coming around. I think I'm still going to buy it because of Ibushi and some of the other things. The Multiverse show I think I might pick up now because it's just looking at, and I actually watched the Impact show from Mania Weekend last year too, and did not regret a minute of it.
Yeah, no, that show was really good.
Like they do, and I bought I've bought a good number of Impact pay-per-views in the last 3 years. Like I would say that like of all the other things that I do, that's like
they've been having some solid stuff, and just everything they're announcing. I was like, oh, I want to see that.
Just looks good.
I want to see that.
And then of course, night 1 and night 2 of WrestleMania, which I'll be watching with the folks here at Fight Game Media.
Night 1, I am now not watching live. Title Belt Pro is doing a show that night.
Oh, good.
And they're doing, and so I was like, we had talked about it because they had talked about potentially doing it earlier in the day, and then it didn't for whatever reason. They're doing it at the regular time, and I was like, you know what? I was like, I just want to go support them. I was like, I can watch, and I was like, the match. Of course, the match I want to see them. I do want to see. I know there's rumors going back and forth about whether Charlotte and Rhea are going to main event night 1, or if it's going to be the Usos and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. That's the match that
Stay tuned on that, folks. No one really knows.
So we'll find out about that. And so I mean, it depends on when I get home. I may try to start some of it. I'll probably just skip to the matches I want to see from night 1.
I was gonna say I
was originally planning to just watch it so I could talk about it the next day on our show. But then then they announced that, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go support my friends.
Yeah, it's a better place to put your money anyway.
And I was like, so I'll do hopefully. So I'm planning that Saturday to watch Effie's Big Gay Brunch. I know we've talked about doing a live stream for the Multiverse recap. Like, I know we're still figuring that out. So I'm trying to figure that stuff out. I'm trying to catch up on some stuff. Like, I think for the WrestleCon stuff, I think I'm just going to get to after that weekend. Like, I think, so maybe like that Monday or something that I might start.
Yeah,
there's a couple, because there's some WrestleCon shows that I really want to see. And I think I'm going to do the free trial that week and get this and watch the shows that way, because actually I was talking to a friend of mine and that's what he's doing, and I was like, I think I'm gonna do the collective stuff like as much as possible as it's happening. Obviously the time zone thing kind of throws things off, but then I think I'm just gonna save, so I don't stress myself out. I think I'm gonna just save the WrestleCon stuff for like the week after and watch it then. So
there's too much good wrestling. Like there's worse than ever, or better than ever, really.
Well, yeah.
As Jim Valley, our kind, wonderful guest last week, he went ahead and said that, you know, he's like, you're getting Vikingo and Kenny Omega live on television for free. He's like,
that's what I said the other day. I was like, this match is free.
And I just said, you know what? No more complaining for the rest of 2023. And he retweeted that. So it's official. It's on Twitter. No more complaining. You're getting Vikingo versus Kenny Omega free on television. No story.
Oh, there is a story. The story is that they were supposed to wrestle each other in 2021, and then Kenny had to vacate all his titles because he got injured.
I didn't know that, and Sam, and nobody spoon-fed
I wrote an article about it on Friday. and you can go read it. You can use your eyeballs and read it.
Are you suggesting that I go look something up instead of bitching about the fact that it wasn't spoon-fed to me on the internet? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, it is.
Well, that's just too reasonable for me. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to.
It was funny because the reason I even wrote the article is because that was when the announcement got made and there was the dream match. Our friend Matthew had said people think it's going to be Vikingo because, and he showed me like a tweet from Lucha Blog, I think it was. And so I had said it in the Daily DDT Slack, and one of my editors was like, hey, do you want to write an article on who Vikingo is for people who, and I was like, sure, I'll write it. So I'm working on it. That's when news started to break about another wrestling situation.
Yeah.
And so I was like I'm trying to write this article and kind of keep up with what was going on there in case I had to stop what I was doing and focus on that, which I ended up not having to. But I was just like, so I got it submitted, and literally within 5 minutes of me submitting it, Tony announced that that's what the match was, and I was like, perfect timing, because my editor's like, we'll just tweet, and because like in the article I mentioned the stuff with Kenny, but I did it because we didn't know if that was the match.
Right.
He was like, we'll just go ahead and it'll be posted, so so people will know who he is, because he's getting obviously a lot of he's had a lot of buzz for a couple of years, so it'll just be there, and then if the match happens, if it ever happens, then we can just be like, oh, here you go. And then literally, like, I had just submitted it, and they were like,
that's good. We'll retweet that on our thingy.
Yeah, and so I tweeted it. I quote tweeted it because it came out like Friday night at like 10:30, because we were trying to find a photo, but Fanside is a little difficult with their photos, and we have to go through all these hoops. So that's why there's not a picture of Vikingo with that article. But so that's what we were waiting for. My editor was trying to get approval for a photo, and they didn't get it. And he was like, whatever, I'm posting it.
Go.
He was like, whatever, we're just gonna go with it. And he was like, and so but I tweeted it yesterday, and I was like, if you've been hearing about Vikingo but you don't know anything about him, here you go. And then I put in parentheses, the story is explained in the article. The story is it's a dream match, first of all.
Sure, the story is shut up and enjoy the fact that you're getting an incredibly crazy match.
This is a pay-per-view. That's what I tweeted on Friday. I was like, this is a pay-per-view quality match for free. Like, I knew that match was probably coming, and I still lost my mind. Like, I'm so excited for this match.
I know, me too.
Can't wait for this match. I was like,
I barely knew the story, but remembered. And
I know it's gonna probably.
As soon as I heard it, I was like, that's
pretty
right,
much.
Kenny's back. I forgot.
Yeah, and then I was like, I just can't now. I've lost my train of thought because I'm very excited. What I was gonna say is I'm sure it's gonna close the show, and I don't know how I'm gonna be able to focus on anything else during Dynamite because I'm gonna be so ready for this match. Then I was like, you can't have it open because then you have to have everything follow that. So I was like, it's gotta close the show.
Yeah, and they're gonna need to give them a good chunk of time.
There's no way that match can open because you can't. How do you follow a dream match? You can't. You end it. But yeah, God, I can't wait for this match.
Oh, it's gonna be so good.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, a little swerve on that one too, because I was just like, again, I went with the fedora because we just Twitter was a little fedora-y this week.
When are they not? It was funny because I was saying something to Nikki.
Yeah, you know what? We got a present from.
We do have a present.
We had a present. It was these kind of people.
Bearded mouth breathing trolls. You all fat neck bearded mouth breathing trolls. You all fat.
That is what it felt like a little bit this week.
A little bit.
And she got fined for saying,
and she got legitimately fined for saying, because and then I heard that that's apparently why this week Ruby did not call anybody fat or talk about anybody's appearances, because apparently that's also part of the thing. They're not supposed to be body shaming people, and so I guess she was told don't do that again. And then Saraya got fined for saying twat on TV.
Oh shit, we're gonna get demonetized.
She had to donate money to AEW Together, and they told her not to do that again.
Don't use twat anymore, honey. It's not as acceptable in this nation as it is in yours. Such a
Brad said, as a fat person whose beard would be growing on my neck if I had one, I laughed so much at that clip. The clip is very funny.
Jim actually was so nice of him to share it.
Yeah, and Jim was great for that. And just like where it's clipped, because that's what I was joking about. That's how I felt on Twitter 3 weeks ago when people were being stupid about match times. I was like, I feel you, Ruby.
It's a great sound clip. It was so kind of him. He was like, he promised last week that he would share it, and then
I had actually forgotten about it until he sent it to us. And I was like, oh, that is great.
I can upload this in this stream.
Yeah, because
I get excited about sound clips. Okay, shut up. Not you, anyone else.
No, I know.
Oh wait, I forgot we're all wrestling fans, so being a nerd is totally acceptable.
That's what we do here.
We just nerd. We're nerd universal.
Yes. Oh, and I was going to ask, were there any other, because we went off course, but are there?
We kind of did. I rearranged.
Are we any other cup matches I need to add to this?
No, those were the
two main. The two,
main and then the big announcement that I just dropped my. You know what? I don't care. I had another one. And then the announcement that Bad Dude Tito is coming back for the next event. That's. Which I think it's Sakura Genesis.
Oh, is he?
And God bless Chris Charlton for being so over for Big Teats.
Big Teats is great.
And he loves talking about it.
Me too. So awesome. And I love when Chris Charlton talks about it. I'm so excited.
Also Jeff Cobb, like watching some of the undercards.
God, I can't wait for Jeff Cobb versus Tito at Bloodsport. I mean, they've already wrestled in Strong, but I cannot wait for that Bloodsport match.
Him on the mic on the table with Mr. Kevin Kelly.
He's so funny. I forgot how good he was. I heard him when he did when I was going through, and I was like, oh my God, I forgot how good he is on how great he is on commentary.
He does what's really cool, and there's a couple matches like this, is he does, I believe he does the Zach and Shota match. And he is great on it. And I mean, it makes the whole presentation just that much better.
I love Jeff Cobb. He's so great.
This is like what bothers me sometimes with AEW is like the table on New Japan always enhances the show. Like I get excited when I hear Kevin's intros and I hear those guys on there. It's like, it's like listening to your familiar radio guy or your NFL guy. Out west, the guy who does the Seahawks games is like, oh my gosh, I hear his voice and it's like nostalgia city, but they've got that kind of style.
Yeah.
And also, because Mark Davis did some table as well, and he was awesome. They were very marking out for him on the table when he was doing things, and it was very cool. It was reminiscent of remember when Rocky and Phantasmo had that match. And it was just like everybody at the table was like rooting for Rocky, and it just amazing. Was it Phantasmo? Yeah. Right?
Yeah, Phantasmo's good too, which is what Brad mentions here, is that Kyle Fletcher was so good on commentary too, and ELP was on Today's Show, and he's always money. Yeah, he definitely has if he wanted to, like after his in-ring career is over, ELP could totally
just write Excalibur at that. Just
he's very good. And Don says Jeff Cobb has always been funny. Just ask him for a Christmas card in February. Now I need to know more. And we know it, and we know he smells good.
I don't know if I'm allowed to tell that story.
Nikki said, oh yeah, Tito followed her on Twitter because she used the Lord of the Ring gift that says looks like Mita's back on the menu, boys, for his match with Jeff Cobb. Which is the perfect reason to use that gif. Like that's really good. I was like,
Nikki, that's money.
I was like, put it on a shirt and put them on it. God, I can't wait. Because y'all know I love the big meaty men, so I am so excited for this match. I can't wait.
Yeah, and they announced Best of Super Juniors, which will be on May 12th. I did see that. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know. They just announced that. And then,
because I was watching the video and I was like, remember when they said Shingo was a junior?
Yeah.
And I mean, I appreciated it because I loved those matches, and that's when I really got to see what Shingo can do. And I was like, so that's when I got like I liked him because I knew a little bit about him, like at the more that he was on there. But man, that BOSJ really made me a fan of his. And then he went and did obviously did the G1, and I've been a big Shingo fan ever since then. And Nikki said, yes, Nikki, you should be very proud of that.
That's using the internet right.
Yes.
Enjoying it and being excited and being happy about these people who are doing all this. New Japan's hot, baby. They are like my
that's why I've got to get caught up on this.
I don't love AEW, but right now they're kind of meh, and I'm enjoying the crap out of New Japan again. I'm back to being like,
that's why I need to. I was like, that's why I was like, I had been planning on it, and then things just kept coming up, and I was like, I'm gonna get caught up on this.
It's
and
the crowds.
Now I've got to finish. Like, I want to get caught up that, but I really want to finish the GCW show because I cut where I had stopped. We had stopped it because Rampage was on late. I should have started earlier, and then we started. I forgot that Rampage was on late, so we were like, well, we'll watch GCW, and then I restarted it while I was writing an article, and I couldn't really pay attention to the match as well. But it was the tag match with Sawyer Rex and Rina Yamashita. And that was a really good match. And then we had to stop it, and it was going to be the big 4-way match, which was it was SGC versus Bussy versus what are they? It's Marcus Mathers and I think Dylan McKay is the other. It was, I can't remember the name of, I just forgot the name, Young and something, or what they're called. But anyway, the match was really good. And I was like, there's like an hour and a half left of that show that I need to watch. And then I've got to watch the New Japan Cup. Like, I've got to finish these. And one of these days I'll get back to the Jersey J Cup because I wanted to see it because I knew how well Jordan Oliver did. And he kicked off the match against the show against Alex Shelley was phenomenal. Thank you, Brad. I knew Brad would know it's wasted youth. I knew it had Young or something in the title.
We have an excellent viewing crew, and they are always helpful and informative to us. Helpful. Thank you, guys. We appreciate it. We're glad you're here, and we're glad that you help us out. Because there's
I'm probably going to need to ask Brad a question in a minute because when we talk about ROH, because there's something I'm not positive if a match has been announced for Supercard, and he may know if it has been announced. So like, I was going through my notes, and I was like, wait, did they make this official? I was like, I bet Brad will know.
Well, we should talk about ROH then, because I am like. Yeah, we'll catch up when and then you can tell me what your thoughts are on the New Japan Cup stuff.
Yes, I'm gonna get caught up. I promise. I'll get.
I know you will. I mean, I feel confident about it. It's always like I'm weird because I'm always like either I'm way behind or I'm like it's.
Well, it helped being able to just watch the tournament matches and fast forward. And I was watching on the iPad, and I had the World Baseball Classic on TV, and so I was like,
"You got Braves going on right now too."
Well, I have Braves start the baseball season starts the same day as the Collective, and the first show of the Collective starts at the same time as the Braves game. Because MLB hates, even though the Braves won the World Series 2 years ago, they hate them and always give them crappy start time. So the game starts at 1:00 in the afternoon. I think it's at 1:40. So I'll get a little bit of time of the Santino Brothers show before the Braves starts. I was like, damn it. And Jeff Hawkins was like, you have like 900 more games to watch, which yes, I do. But
did you listen to Dynamite Show this week? It cracked me up when he was like, I bet Sam would know this.
No, I haven't had a chance to listen yet.
But they had the answer. But it was funny because he said, do they still show every Braves game on TNT and TBS? He's like, I should ask Sam. I was like,
no, it's Valley. No, they haven't been on there in a very long time. It's Valley Sports. It's Valley Sports, but Valley Sports is... Valley Sports is owned by Sinclair, who used to own ROH, and Sinclair so Valley Sports has filed for bankruptcy, and now they're not 100. Valley claims that they're going to show all the baseball games, but I don't know. And so I was like, if y'all make me miss Braves games, I'm going to be real upset.
VPN. What?
Yeah, that's the route I'm going to have to go because
what? I have no idea what happened.
But that's a whole other.
My monitor.
We'll find out in like 2 weeks if I start complaining about not being able to see Braves game because it's the whole market thing. Because technically, because Charlotte is 4 hours away from the ballpark, they are technically black. If they're not on Bally Sports, they're blacked out, but not in Raleigh because Raleigh is further away. And so now they're like, oh, well, they'll show all local games. And I was like, okay, but does that mean I'm going to get blacked out because I'm technically close enough? And I was like, y'all better fix this.
I don't understand. Ugh, yes,
it's
do.
the same.
I would get into that. That would be.
I'll be here all day talking about how
that's Garrett. That's a Garrett Gonzalez podcast right there.
I will go on his show and complain about Rob Manfred.
No, he would love in having that conversation. But that's like straight up the kind of stuff he.
No, I need it. Yeah. Well, and the Giants. I've told him before. The Giants are my side team because I was a huge Barry Zito fan, and he went there, and I had to pay because baseball is expensive. I had to buy a baseball package when I had DirecTV, and I was like, well, I'm getting my money out of it. So instead of I would watch Braves games and I would watch Giants games, and so I ended up becoming a fan of theirs too, and so they're my side team. And so I was like,
that's kind of cool though because like it's the weirdest thing ever. My dad liked. He liked the NBA, like the NFL. He liked NHL. He loved hockey. Hockey and football were huge, and then the NBA. But for some reason, he just didn't like baseball. So we never really watched baseball. Right. My mom liked it a little, but not enough to watch it. Right. It became a thing when my sister and I got older, and I would actually, because I worked in theater and worked with some of the downtown, and Bob worked at a downtown store, so he knew a lot of the concierges. So we would end up at Mariners games all the time.
Right. I'm sure.
And I love going to baseball games. I love it. It's so much fun. And that is such a killer venue.
That's definitely, I want to go to a game there.
Beautiful freaking, wonderful location. That's where they actually had WrestleMania, I think. So because they can close the roof. That's why they did it there. So I love going to ballparks. I've been to Camden Yards. I've been to locations like that. It's fun.
It is fun.
And when I watch baseball, I watch playoff baseball because that's when it's the most exciting. And that's when the game really shows its true colors. Because I don't want to wait around for the exciting games like that.
See, I think that, and I can see that as a fan, I can see it.
Really
it makes me laugh. When you saying that reminded me, and it was talking about how ridiculous wrestling Twitter is. Now we've seen how ridiculous baseball Twitter can be because some people, a player was injured because World Baseball Classic is happening right now, which is where there's teams from all over the world that are playing.
Hence the name.
Right. Not even though the World Series is not, but World Series, that's a whole other thing, but about why it's called that. But so a player was injured and he's out for the season. And so some people are like, World Baseball Classic is so meaningless. They're just wasting it's just turning regardless of the fact that players can get hurt anytime. The Braves had a player who tore his ACL walking back to the dugout. So right. And then the next day, the very same team had a player who got hurt in spring training, and he's going to be out for some time too. But it's turned into this whole, but then there's people from other countries, and they were like, other countries watch baseball. To them, these games are not meaningless. For the players who are playing, representing their country, it's not meaningless. And so it turned, baseball Twitter has been very much like wrestling Twitter this week, where it's a bunch of there's a bunch of Ruby's little clip.
Wait. Yep. I'm not on the ball yet because I'm not used to having such an awesome. You mean
neck, beard, and mouth breathing trolls? You all fat neck, beard, and mouth breathing trolls. You all.
Yep. They went over, so that's been happening in baseball Twitter this week, and I was like, God, I'm getting both of it. So Don says I ended up watching a lot of Japanese baseball last summer. It's great background TV, and Japanese baseball is so Japan versus Korea, their game got 64 million people watch that game, and only the highest watched World Series game was 54 million people. So I was like, don't tell me that the World Baseball Classic
to go to a Japanese baseball game.
I want to go to Japan, obviously, for wrestling, but I want to go it's baseball
season,
I'm getting a baseball I want to go to a game.
Definitely.
Their name is amazing. Don says the Nippon Ham Fighters were his favorite team just because of their name. Their name's amazing.
That is an amazing name. I love all the names of all the Hiroshima Carp that Naito is
Oh yeah,
season 2 because it's hometown and everything.
Uh-huh.
And they play his music during the 7th inning stretch.
That's
I think,
amazing. That's
which is
awesome.
so awesome. But I just love that that's like a thing. So
yeah, I do too. And so but
Yeah.
I'll be on here talking about baseball forever. But
yeah, but there's also like there's like an elementary school in Japan. I can't remember where, and I bet Dawn would remember where. There's an elementary school that has Bruiser Brody as their mascot.
What?
And I'm like,
that's amazing.
I'm moving there to go to that elementary school so I can.
That's like the perfect intersection for me. Baseball and wrestling like that. And hello, Sean. Thank you for joining us. Don says that the ham fighters have a pig mascot and they're owned by a meat packing company. Oh
Perfect.
My God. This story just gets better and better.
God, so we'll plan our Japan trip together.
Yes.
So here's what I figure is going to end up happening. Is sooner or later, they're going to do a Forbidden Door in Japan.
Right.
It seems logical.
Mm-hmm.
Sooner or later, I mean, this is like they're already going to a different country. You know, I don't think about it so much as a different country because it's so close. But I'm like, gotta get the passport out, you know, getting a stamp on the passport. Woo! But we like they've got to eventually do it. And they've got to do it at one of the big, maybe the Tokyo Dome, Sumo Hall, Korakuen, somewhere.
Yeah.
So I figure, I'm like, okay, and that's going to be my Japan trip that I missed out on when the plague killed the Japan trip.
Right,
so
right.
That's so maybe, you know, but so I pushed like little bits
Nikki
of money.
Said we also have to go to Disney. Yes.
Jim said that's one of his favorite. I
hear a lot of people that go to they've been to like other one. They always say that that's their favorite one.
Definitely.
Brad says to make sure to reach out to Fumi.
Definitely will.
Especially after that story Jim told last week.
Yes.
That was the greatest story. I love that story.
Fumi is the best.
Yes.
Love Fumi so much.
Yes. We definitely
shout out to Pacific Rim, Jim Valley, and Fumi Sato are the best. And he knows so much, and Jim's not like, that's one thing I do love about Fumi. He's so knowledgeable, and he just wants to tell you all this stuff.
Right.
And it's like,
which is great.
And I could sit and listen to that forever. I was actually chatting with John Muse real quick this week about Japan, and he's like, you gotta go. And I'm like, well, I'm thinking they're going to do Forbidden Door there sometime. And he was like, you can get everything in this short time. Like,
I was like, God, that'll be like a
but see, this is like
wrestling, baseball, and Disney. Man.
I know, right? Maybe we should definitely plan that. That's like we'll do a field trip together.
Our international field trip.
Our international.
We just have to find food that Nikki can eat.
Oh, that'll be plenty. Actually, it would actually probably be easier to find her food there.
It may be, but if they do soy-based stuff, then that's where her issue is going to come because she can't.
Not
always.
Not always. We do more.
There is always the cuisine of TGI Fridays.
Or Outback Steakhouse.
Yes.
I got to experience an Outback in Japan though. That's got to be a totally different experience. It has to be.
Don says, I have to wonder if a Forbidden Door event would mean as much in Japan with all of their crossover shows. Wrestle Kingdom and the Muda Final show were way crazier crossovers than Forbidden Door 2022. I mean, that's a good point. You bring up a really good point, Don. So maybe that is something, it may take them a few years before they head over there, because maybe that is something that's definitely something they have to consider for sure.
Yeah, it's true, because they have a lot of good shows already.
Yeah, so that might not. I mean, for like a diehard group, that may be a lot, but for like not the casuals, because I hate that damn word, but the people who like that don't really keep up with the AEW, that might not be anything that interests them.
Yeah, fair.
So that's a really good point.
May not drive. That is a good point. It may not drive as much travel there as something where you put AEW wrestlers in the Tokyo Dome or on the G1 or something else where that would drive. And actually, I mean, Japan needs the tourism, so maybe those are the bigger shows to be pushing right now.
Right.
I would
maybe so.
I mean, obviously, Wrestle Kingdom is like the bucket list of shows.
Oh, 100%. But I mean, G1.
I'd go to G1.
I would go to a BOSJ. I love that type of stuff. But yeah,
it would all be fun because you get to see all the like good historic venues and get to have the experience of it. Okay. All right. We can mark out about Japanese wrestling for
Okay, let me go back to Ring of Honor. Now that we're nearly an hour in.
There's a lot of really good wrestling this week.
There is, and and at least we have.
And they're heating up with the crowd's back. The crowd's back is, you don't realize. I knew I would realize it, but you realize it even more.
Right.
Mixed crowds, cheering for different. It's a very different but exciting element.
Right.
That we've been missing, and it's back, baby, and it is like
good.
Yeah. I'm glad. All right. ROH.
Okay, so ROH, I'm not going to go over the whole I won't go over the whole 2 hours. I'll just hit some of the highlights. But it was another great show. So I guess 2 women matches a week is their thing. It happened again. They were much shorter matches this week, but they each hit like 5 minutes. But the reason one of them did was because there were 2 ROH. I don't remember how often the Proving Ground matches how often they did those. I like them a lot better than the Eliminator matches that AEW does. So the Proving Ground match is either somebody wrestles the champion, and they either have to pin the champion or beat the champion, or they have to last 10 minutes and they get a title shot, which I like much better than what AEW does. So they actually kicked off the show with Willie Mack versus Claudio in a Proving Ground match. And we love Willie Mack here. He's great.
I like Willie Mack a lot.
I really like him. So he looked great. He really brought it to Claudio. He only lasted, I think the match lasted like 5 minutes or so. So unfortunately he does not have a title shot. But it was really good. So then the same thing happened. It was Athena versus Hyann. Was a really great match. It was a Proving Ground match. I think it lasted like 5.5 minutes, which because of the match that it was, I'm not surprised that's about how it did. But the match was really great. Hyann, unfortunately, she did not win. But I hope they use her more often. But Athena did call out afterwards. She was doing a backstage segment with Lexi Nair, and she was talking shit about Yuka Sakazaki and how she's going back to Japan because she's afraid of her and all this stuff. And so she has challenged her for Supercard of Honor. The match has not been made official yet because Yuka has not responded, but the challenge was laid out on Thursday. So that will be phenomenal. And then we got Trish Adora versus Madison Rayne. And that lasted about 5 minutes. That was a really good match. And I saw Madison tweet. She said that Trish Adora is one of her top 10 favorite competitors that she's ever been in the ring with, and that she wants to wrestle her again. So I was like, well, that's very cool. So I was like, we love Trish Adora. So I'm glad to hear that she's getting so much love. So that is
she's great. I think she has a lot of stuff to offer. Like the women's divisions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's so fun. She has such a different style than a lot of women wrestlers do, and I like that. I think that's one of the things I like so much about her. Then we had because obviously we saw Claudio in the beginning. He's been wanting a title shot. Last week Eddie beat Bendejo, and I should have timed the match because it was literally like 30 seconds, which I want to make a quick note about Bendejo because I forgot to bring it up last week. So Bendejo was John Cruz. So John Cruz used to wrestle in PWX, and his tag team were the Los Bendejos. I think they wrestled in Fest Wrestling as well, but they were the Los Mendejos here. So when the matches were being, like, when they were talking about what matches were being taped, I saw it and I was like, oh my God. And so I sent it to our group because we all knew that that's who that was. And people of course were dying at the name. But yes, so I was very pleased. I was sad that it was a squash match, but it was great. So this week, Eddie wrestled Jeeves K, who is in Trustbusters, and that match it was not a squash match, but it still only went like 3 minutes. And so during that match, Claudio came to sit front row to watch the match and to kind of get into Eddie's head a little bit. So Eddie flings Jeeves into the barricade and purposely makes the Claudio spill his coffee all down the front of his white shirt. And commentary kept talking about how expensive his coffee was and how he's pissed. And so he was rightfully pissed about that. And so, but they did make the point during the match that Eddie has not earned or Claudio has not agreed to give him a title match yet because he doesn't think that Eddie is honorable. Eddie's temper tends to get the best of him. It's cost him spots. It's cost him money for years. And so they're like, he doesn't really think, maybe he doesn't really think Eddie's worthy of Ring of Honor because Ring of Honor is based around that. And he's like, obviously Chris Jericho did what he did with the title. But they were like, he basically is Eddie worthy enough to get a title shot. So that match still is not official yet, but afterwards Eddie did the universal title belt motion around his waist. So he clearly is still wanting that shot. I'm assuming that that'll probably be made official next week because Supercard of Honor is on the 31st. So, but that match is going to be great. I can't wait until we get that. Cause that's, Eddie says like, that's why he quit AEW. And he's like, I'm coming to Ring of Honor and I want this title. And then I was going to say, let's see. Brad said this is also Claudio ducking Eddie since Claudio is now a heel, so it works. Yeah, exactly. Yes. This whole story has been great. And I think it's the perfect first like big story for ROH is to include these two guys who have so much history between the two of them, and then they have unfinished business from AEW, and they did team up together begrudgingly against JAS for Blood and Guts, and so they didn't, and so now they're kind of getting to rehash that and like have a proper feud, which is nice to see it. And I think that's really important I think that's a really good big first feud for Ring of Honor, is two guys that a lot of fans are invested in because a lot of people love Claudio and a lot of people love Eddie, and so I think, and then and people have been wanting Eddie to get gold, and he hasn't yet. And I don't know that he gets it here, but I think it's a really to see him chase that against somebody like Claudio.
These are all pre-taped, right?
Yes, they pre-taped the first live show will be Supercard of Honor on the 31st. Okay. Yeah. But yeah,
so he should be healed up from his COVID.
He should be healed up from his COVID by then. Yes, he should be. Yeah, because I thought that too, and I was like, well, that's about 2 weeks. So hopefully, fingers crossed, he'll be feeling well. But the match hasn't been made official. So if he's not feeling well, then they could potentially push it back because it's not, unless that happens on this week's episode, like I think it will. But we shall see. Well, that's the perfect reason for card subject to change. Because we still live in a world where you can get COVID. So things are that can happen. Yeah. But yeah, so another thing I was going to mention really quick is, so this is the one I was going to ask Brad about. So they had Trust Busters versus Metalik, who was formerly Mascara Dorada, who's gone back to, he was Grand Metalik, then he was Mascara Dorada in New Japan, but he has gone back to Metalik. Hello. Thank you for joining us, James.
Holy crap, it's James. Hi, James. Welcome to the show.
Hello. But yeah, so it was him and Blake Christian, which are really great tag team. But then they were saying they wanted to do a trios match, and AR Fox is the trio. So this trio is amazing. It's Metalik, Blake Christian, and AR Fox. And so I know they wanted to wrestle for the trios title, which the Embassy has. And so this is the question I had for Brad. So was the Embassy versus Metalik, Blake Christian, and AR Fox, is that happening next week, or is that the Supercard of Honor match? Because I saw somebody say that they thought it was official for Supercard, but I apparently missed that announcement, and so I was not sure.
Brad is our official stat.
Well, he watches with me, not with me, but like we.
No, I know, like you guys were live watching.
And so I knew that I was like, he might have heard it because I missed it. But anyway, that match will be, because I was like, that's an incredible trios, because if the trios match hasn't been made official for Supercard, that's what I thought, that it wasn't official, but somebody said it was, and I was like, maybe I missed that. I didn't think so, but that match will be.
But Monday is, a news day, and
yeah,
so tomorrow we may find out.
We could, yeah. So that, but yeah, I was like, I'm all about a trios team that is Metalik, Blake Christian, and AR Fox, though. I mean, I love AR Fox with Top Flight, but that's his. And it seems like, because Top Flight is doing some stuff, like it was Dante Martin versus Mike Bennett had a really great match. And so next week is Darius versus Matt Taven. So I'm assuming at Supercard we get the tag. Brad said the only official match so far is the Reach for the Sky ladder match, which I cannot wait for. I'm so excited. And it will, and I think we're Samoa Joe. I think isn't Samoa Joe versus Mark Briscoe for the TV title. I believe that's official as well, because Mark was basically like, and that's what we were talking. Somebody was talking about how, like, because there's so many things around stories, and they were like, basically the story is Mark Briscoe is, I've always wanted that title. I want to fight you. And Samoa Joe's like, okay, let's fight. There's your story. I think that, yeah. So Samoa Joe versus Mark is official. So Claudio and Eddie will probably be added. Yuka Sakazaki versus Athena will probably be added. This embassy, the trio title for the embassy versus, I guess, because the Trustbusters are still in it, so it could be the Trustbusters instead, because Tony is very big on them.
Oh, good, another show I can like talk about the fact that I'm not going to buy and then ultimately end up buying.
Oh, Supercard of Honor is going to be great. I already know Supercard.
I haven't really been thinking about it.
Supercard of Honor is always good because it's their biggest show besides Final Battle. It's their biggest show of the year. So I think it'll be really good, especially if they do Eddie versus Claudio, which is probably
supposed to be. I mean, this is Tony's first like really big Supercard of Honor. So.
Yeah, because he's done a couple since he's owned them, but yeah, this be.
This kind of feels like a defining one now that they've got something going on.
And I think that it will. I mean, they're setting up some really good stories, which I've really enjoyed with how they've built Ring of Honor so far. And so this match will probably also get added. So the main event was Yuta versus Clark Connors, which, we love the Clark Connors here. We also love Yuta.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it was really great. And Clark Connors came out with the Orville Peck looking gear again that he had at Battle of the Valley with the chains hanging down from the hat, and he had his fringe on his. He's just so cool. I love that.
That's what I haven't caught up on actually. Now it's on New Japan, so I can actually. It's on.
Oh, good. Yeah, Clark Connors.
I need to catch up on that. The Valley. The Battle.
Yeah, that's a really good show. I enjoyed that pay-per-view a lot.
I decided I was gonna wait just because there was
I get it, but now that it's there and you have
definitely there, and I'm caught up with the other one. I should definitely check it out.
Yeah, I recommend it. But so this match we all knew was gonna happen because it got out in the spoilers when they were filming that Yuta called out Shibata.
Wow, goodness.
Because he's already, because what started the whole thing was he was talking about how he got trained from Blackpool Combat Club. He didn't need the LA dojo to train him, and he didn't need to train under somebody like Shibata when he could train with William Regal and Danielson and Moxley and Claudio, and that's what started the whole thing. And so that's why he wrestled Clark Connors and Zack Sabre Jr. and Zack was separate. This was after the Zack matches when he called out the dojo, and Clark Connors was like, "You're not gonna disrespect the school on my watch." But their match was really good, and so he beat him, and then he sat down in the middle of the ring the way that Shibata does, and was being disrespectful. Brad said, "I still popped at actually seeing Yuta doing the call out, even though I knew it had happened." Yes, same, Brad. Yeah, it was really well done, and
sometimes it's just like you can still be spoiled and be okay.
Yeah, it worked. I mean, it happens, and exactly. I know what happens with Masha and Nick Gage, but I'm really looking forward to this match.
I inadvertently got spoiled on Zack and Shota, and I still didn't care. It made no difference at all.
Yeah. And so, and at this point, and we've talked about it, man, inevitably you're going to be spoiled. I'm more surprised when I don't get spoiled by things.
Yeah, same.
And so, but yeah, so Ring of Honor is there. I have really enjoyed what they're doing. And if it keeps at this rate, then ROH could end up being one of my favorite things that I watch. It's just, nice. I really enjoy the presentation. And it goes back, and Brad and I had this conversation a couple of weeks ago on here, that this feels like what AEW would have been had they not signed all the names that they signed. This is what, because he said, even in the press conference, or in the media scrum after Revolution, he was like, this is, what I used to do. I used to just book, and I would be in class and I was booking Dynamite, because that's what he called it then. And he was like, I was booking Dynamite and I was booking all these dream matches and had no, I was booking pay-per-views and I had no time limits. And he was like, I was just doing all. So basically it's everything that he manifested is now ROH now. And so it's really interesting. And so I really enjoy it. And so I can't wait to see what all they do with it, but I've enjoyed it so far. So far, it has been worth the $9.99.
Good. That's good.
And so, and I'm hoping,
I'm glad to hear it.
yeah, and I'm hoping Supercard of Honor delivers. I'm sure it will because a Supercard always does. And then like you said, this is extra pressure for Tony now that he's this is his first, like he's really got to deliver here, and I think that he will. Even though I'm sure that show, because that's a Friday night show, so I was like, will it go up against Rampage? But I think because of the time zone difference, maybe not. Because last year he did that. Supercard of Honor was packed with stuff, but then he still had Rampage live, and I was like, so now I've got to figure out, because I cover both ROH and Rampage for Daily DDT. I've got to ask them, like, I'm sure they're going to want me to cover the pay-per-view over our Rampage episode, but now I was like, now I got to figure that out too. So yeah. It's honestly a good problem to have.
These days, it's the best problem to have.
It's a good problem to have, because that weekend's going to be insane. I've got to start making schedule, and I've got to start. I was going to make also a list of like the matches that I want to like really stand out, which is like the multiverse tag team match that I talked about earlier. Like I cannot wait for that match, and so like there's so many like match of the year contenders, even though we're going to get a match of the year on Wednesday night. Oh, I told Nikki, I was like, should I just go ahead and put it on my list? Just go ahead and put it on my match.
Right. I should just write it down right now. I mean, it's going to be really hard.
We all said like we didn't know if that anything was going to top, Kenny Omega from Wrestle Kingdom.
Will. Yeah.
And then Kenny Omega's like, hold my beer. I'm getting ready to
I'm going to go top myself. You know what? I'm good with it. This is like the best version. These are always like, Kenny being the big star is like always a good thing for everybody.
And we're getting Kenny at like as close to 100% as he's ever been. Like, because he was having those banger matches, match of the year candidates, and 7-star matches at like 70 and 80%. Now we've got him.
He's healthy.
Pretty much completely healed up. He's healthy. Obviously, he's always going to have nagging.
Got an unplanned vacation to extra heal up.
And this is a match that he's been waiting on for 2 years. Don't tell me that match is
it's gonna be
I'm just gonna go ahead and put it on my list right now. The match hasn't even happened.
You're right. I should probably just like
I'm gonna put it on there.
Just gonna write. Would have been 6 stars in the Tokyo show. Okay.
Got it.
It's written down it's in my wrestling journal now.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it over here in my notes app. What are your matches on your list so far? Kenny Omega and Kenny Omega?
Yeah, right.
One of those did happen in the Tokyo Dome.
Yeah, there you go. See? Yep, it's true.
I guess since we were talking about Kenny, we can move on to AEW and talk about
let's get this crap out of the way. We'll wrap the show up with the crap.
We're wrap with the crap. Yeah, so we found out what QTV is this week. It probably would have been relevant 15 years ago when TMZ TV was actually a thing and people gave a damn, but I don't
mean Miz TV.
Listen, so I was writing an article because I was covering for SC Scoops. I was writing about Taya's debut. And so I was writing about that and it was on and I was like not really paying it. I like saw it and I was like, oh my God, what is this? And then I said the best part of QTV that I caught was that RJ City was there. I don't know if RJ City will always be on there, but that will be the only thing that keeps my interest at all because I hated it from what I saw. Don said QTV is death and he spelled it like Pete Dunne spells out his stuff. Spacing it out. And James said QTV made me want to die. I hate it. I only half paid attention and I hate it. And like, so because I was
working
on
smarter than the rest of us because
Nikki and I had
work kind of
had to go back. Nikki and I had to go back and watch some of it and I was like, just fast forward through QTV. I don't care. I do not want to see it. And Brad said I'm a QT fan, but no, this is not it. What the hell are they doing with Powerhouse Hobbs? Why is this?
What the hell? Seriously, that is like, I'm sorry, that's some old TNA kind of like.
Did Jeff Jarrett write this? What is this?
It would like, it's really, he's great. They finally get him the win. They finally get him in this position. And this is what you're doing?
Like it was bad enough that you had like, the book, I didn't really care one way or another about the book. The book Propus, apparently some people really hated it, which I get. It was I liked I enjoyed the backstory and learning more about Power. Like I enjoyed that part. The book as a prop didn't really bother me, but
I liked it as a metaphor better though.
Right. Same. So Dawn says the book gimmick was bad enough. And James said Jarrett is hiding Russo in his gym bag. That's gotta be the only explanation. Because this was so bad.
That's how he got in.
Then I saw apparently there was notes because somebody had access to Fightful, and apparently the segment went over well with people in AEW. And I was like, were they lying to their faces? Because this was awful.
Well, maybe their over 50 numbers will be up this week, and it was not.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. This is. I was like, it made me think of like when the Factory would wrestle, and people would be like, "This could be a women's match." Like QTV could have been anything else. Like
it was. I just don't want this. This is what I don't want on my television, and I have been watching. Yeah,
Rat said QT and Tony, that's the people it was over with. Yeah, exactly. Because I don't know who else it was over with. It probably wasn't even over with Powerhouse or RJ City.
I mean, props to them for trying. If this is what you're being told to do and this is the booking, this is the booking. Like, this is something I say about, having been watching WWE regularly, is that I give a lot of people credit for all books remind me of Shannon Moore.
And this book of, do I look like it? Yes. I forgot
about I look like I can
yes, that's exactly Don. Yes. And James says, in the fact that they sacrificed Wardlow to Hobbs the Saddle Hobbs with this. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes. And we've said, like, we thought the whole reason Wardlow got the title back was to build him back up to eventually drop the title to Hobbs so that he could go wrestle MJF, because that feud is eventually coming. But what is this? What is? Why? I don't like it.
I was very discouraged by Wednesday's Dynamite, is what I think I'll say. And that, maybe not the whole thing.
I liked a lot. I liked
we'll talk about the next stuff in a second, but
there was some hit and misses, but this was a huge miss for me, and I don't know if they just decided to scrap QTV and never speak of it again. Like, I think the fans would be fine with it. Like, we don't have to. You can just leave it, but I don't. I would have rather had, and especially because like Rampage had this, they did this segment where they're training Stoke for his match with Hook. Freaking hilarious. Like, I would rather them have dedicated 4 minutes to that
montage deal.
That the montage was really great, and it was, oh god, I loved everything about it.
I'm into that. That makes sense.
I was like, I would rather watch. I mean, I am impartial because I do love. Obviously, I'm a huge Matt Hardy fan. I do love Ethan Page. I love all of that. So Don says the TNT title is the kiss of death belt. Everyone who wins it after a long chase ends up living in a nightmare, an American nightmare. Yes, I blame Cody. That's why Cody left. Adrenaline in my soul. Got us to have something that rhymes with TNT title.
It started with a tattoo, and it just got worse from there.
Somebody said the other day they don't know how this man is going to be a politician with that tattoo on his neck. I was like, because he's Cody. If you listen to Cody talk, Cody.
It's frustrating because he can still. I've been watching him. He can cut a promo and he's compelling. I can understand why people are compelled.
I'm a fan. I'm a Cody fan.
But it's like, But
well,
you know what though? I don't see it. I still don't see it. I see him winning.
No, and I get it. I get it. I do. I see. It's a very WWE story. And this story, and it's interesting, Nikki and I were talking about it, how many stories about the dads is happening in wrestling. We have the Guns. We have the Guns and their dad. We have Cody and his dad. We have David Finlay and his dad. Like, he's wanting, his dad never did anything. He never won a title. So there's that.
Dominic and his dad.
Isn't there a, wait, is
Dominic and Rey Mysterio?
Yeah, there's that too. I think Impact does not have.
Good job, Impact. Keep it up.
Ring of Honor does not have one yet.
Excellent. Keep that way.
God, are they going to give that? God, please don't. When Colby Corino finally comes to WWE, I think he's got one more final match. And then he's going to WWE. Don't do Steve Corino and Colby Corino. Like, don't do. They're gonna do a dad story. There's so many dad stories out there. Nikki said they just need therapy.
Yeah, yeah, they do.
They do. And so Brad said, we don't tolerate people disparaging Cody Luther King. Listen, that stuff when they call him that cracks me up. Listen, it's so funny. But I think it goes back to the kiss of death, probably the TNT title, but the kiss of death was the Anthony Ogogo storyline, and then Cody doubling down on it. Don says Cody will cry and tell voters his dad always wanted a neck tattoo before he died. Listen, probably so.
Oh my god! It's like there's
give Cody this damn title so he can go run for office in 3. Because did he say he wants to run for office when he's 40? Right? I think that's what he said, and he's like, I think he's a few years away from 40, so he better hurry up and get this title and have his title.
Well, he can't. I mean, I don't know he can't run for president until he's like.
No,
45,
he's running. No, he's wanting to run for. He's wanting to run for office in Georgia.
He'll probably run for like a local senate or a congressional seat to start off.
But
like
then
most
that's
people
how he
do.
can appeal to voters. He's gonna be look at I'm young and cool. Look at my neck tattoo.
Look at my Aryan Homelander gimmick and my neck tattoo. Sorry, what? I know he's a nice guy. I'm sorry, guys. All right.
The Anthony Ogogo thing just didn't. That was the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
It was the beginning of the end of everything.
Right. We shouldn't be bagging on Cody. We should be.
I love Cody. Listen, I love Cody. I have been a fan of his for a really long time, for years, and it's
weird for me. I watch the show every week, and I see the promos being cut, and I see the storyline unfolding, and I hear everyone telling me that this is the plan and this is what's going to happen.
It's a WWE story. Like you can't.
I don't know. It doesn't.
He's gonna. Yeah, I think he's.
I don't see it. It has nothing to do with.
But it's WWE. They don't see Sammy being the guy. They don't see if we're being honest, Jay should be the one to beat Roman Reigns. But that is not the story they're telling. No. It's never been the story. The same thing with Sammy. They don't see Sammy as the face of the company. They don't see Jay as the face of the company. They see Cody as the face of the company. And that's why it's going to be Cody.
I don't know. I mean,
unless they're keeping it on Roman to let him get to 1,000 days as champion.
But that's what is still out there. That outlier being out.
But it's WWE, and I think this has been the plan the whole time. I think Roman was always going to hold it for 2 years or whatever. But as soon as they found out they could get Cody, that was, and because The Rock was never obviously going to be, it was never going to be a title match against The Rock. But I think as soon as Cody became available, that was they were like, this is our story. Cody is going to be the one to defeat him.
But still, there's something in me that still feels like I just don't see it. There's something that just doesn't. I don't know. It's just me. Maybe I'm just.
No, I mean, I'm sure you're not the only one, though. I'm sure you're not the only one.
There's just like a weird.
It would make more sense for it to be Jay or Sammy.
Well, there's that. But I mean, they have to do it if they ever want to get anybody from the other labels labels.
Well, and seeing that's what they can do. They said that Cody can be. They're like, look, he was in that other company. He was the EVP, and he came here and beat our biggest champion and took both his titles. Don't you want to come here and wrestle for us?
Yeah.
Tom says Cody will run for governor in one party and then jump to another so he can run for president because that's what Dusty wanted. Dusty always wanted Sega to make the Dreamcast. Man, poor Cody's just out here catching strays. Poor Cody.
It's funny.
It is funny.
I don't care.
It's entertaining. It's entertaining, unlike this segment with the Outcasts.
Okay, let's talk about this.
I was like, I'm just going to use this segue to go right into this.
Was perfect. I loved it. Perfect.
God. This was another one that I was writing articles and Nikki had to go. I was like, let me go back because I know I'm going to have, I don't really want to listen. I heard, so apparently, like I heard the stuff with Tony and I missed what Saraya had said at the beginning. And I wish I didn't hear it. It's the most it's on top of being the WWE trope, it's just the trope that women are bitches. The trope
and
that
petty and mean and trying to
right,
backstab each
the all,
other.
which is what WWE is. It's all the worst tropes about women. And Saraya cannot help herself. She brings it. I mean, she's not the only one who does it in AEW, but Saraya
That's what
just
she knows.
well,
That's
but
all
then
she knows.
it is what she knows, but it's not all she knows because Jen made a good point. She grew up in a carny family.
You're right.
She should be the one that can break out of that mindset and find another approach, but she uses what she did for so long. It's ingrained in her WWE brain, like we've talked about a lot of people. And at times I still have. I mean, WWE brain is there because it's all that's the main thing that we've had for decades. But God, it's awful. I hate it. It makes me completely uninterested in anything that they're doing. And I get it. They're heels and they're supposed to be unlikable, but you don't have to rely on these stupid ass tropes to do it. Like I cannot stand. Yeah. Don says that Outcasts are also death. Yeah, I wanted this to be God, when this first started, I thought we were finally getting somewhere with women's wrestling booking. And
they were going to do something. They were going to give them a story.
And it's going to involve multiple women. We're going to have big storylines. We're going to get a blood and guts out of it, which we probably still will get a blood and guts out of it. But it's just the getting there has been painful. It's not good. I don't like it. I don't like it. I want to, but then they keep doing these dumb things, and it makes me.
It comes off as like a crappy women's invasion angle.
Yeah, it's not.
I mean, the best thing about the entire segment in my mind was like when I realized they were all wearing Canadian tuxedos, like we talked about earlier. Yeah. That was like the moment of the moment of the thing for me. The rest of it, I just feel like you just said it about the tropes about the ladies. It's like, can we try and book a little more like I'm gonna kick your ass, you're gonna kick my ass,
right? Like that's a fighters thing. Yeah, like I hated the thing about how what do we do with bitches who aren't housebroken? And I was just like, what the fuck are they doing? And then I was just like, it was so bad. And then it was like, you can't build a foundation that's, on crumbled foundation or whatever. And you have to tear it down, which, okay, I can kind of get like what they mean by that. I mean, it does disrespect everything the women did in AEW, everything.
They've had a bad habit of burying their own product on their
which we will get to in the next thing that we're going to talk about.
Wow, I segued without even realizing.
But it happened in the 4 Pillars segment. Like I was not down on this 4 Pillars segment as much as a lot of people were. I enjoyed it for the most part.
I liked it at first. I liked was excited.
Then, like I loved. Like when he came out, when Jungle Boy's music hit, I was like, yes, this is going to be the next feud. This is the feud that Mel and I have been talking about.
Yeah.
This is what we've wanted. They're gonna, Jack he's done with Christian. They're gonna move him into a big boy storyline.
He's got his big boy body.
They're gonna make him important. We're gonna this is gonna be great. And then Sammy comes out, and then listening to Sammy reminded me of how much he doesn't need JAS. Like he's a completely different person when he's not in JAS. And I know a lot of it is, and he's not done himself any favors with some of the backstage stuff. I also do think some of the backstage stuff happened because they know that Sammy is young and that they can Andrade knew what he was doing. He went for Sammy because he knew Sammy would react, and he got exactly what he wanted. So he knew what he was doing. But that a part of that is on Sammy. Sammy should have known that he was walking into a trap.
He's a kid.
There's a lot of things that he should be doing. And I know why Sammy gets the rap that he does. I understand it. But I did watch his show, and he's very genuine about, he loves what he does. And so some of that stuff I liked. It was really I did not expect him to say the stuff that he said, that he was basically there to lose and make Jericho look good. And I was like, oh, I was not expecting him to go there. But then So Brad says, I love the idea of them putting steam behind the kids in that segment, and the rebar mitzvah was the greatest thing ever. Like, I enjoyed that stuff. And like, even Darby, like the Darby stuff was a little, I'm not going anywhere because I can't be myself. Like, we know Darby. We know. But I get the point that he's driving home. Like, I get some of that. But on the other hand, you are kind of shitting on the company and making them look bad. Like, kind of like I kind of get both sides. Like, for the most part, I enjoyed it. Like, especially I just really enjoyed the stuff with Jack. Maybe it's just because I really like him and I want him to break out of what he's been doing. Like, there's nothing wrong with the Jungle Boy stuff. Like, and I get like, and I understand, like, you don't want to, he has a lot of fans who are younger, and so they dig the Jungle Boy stuff. So I get it's a very fine line for him for being Jungle Boy and to being Jack Perry. And they've used his dad a lot, like they've gotten into, but I understand like why they did what they did with that. But now it's time to push him away from that. And that's again why I wanted him with MJF, because I thought that this is where they were going, and I'm interested in how they're gonna do this. And it's funny because I was going back and looking at that, it was MJF who called them the 4 pillars. It was that MJF was like, it's the 4, and like he came up with it. So I like, it's interesting that they're circling back around to it. Revolution, we did talk about last week. Revolution did focus on some of the younger talent, the next set of things. So I like the idea of it, and I can understand though why some people didn't like they're I guess giving away the secrets. And then Darby says that people are crying on Twitter about not getting TV time. So I was like, I mean, it's kind of funny that he poked fun at that, but then I was like,
mouth-breathing trolls.
then it made me think, because you have Andrade who was saying things on Twitter, and then he calls the fight with Sammy Guevara to try to get fired, and it didn't work, and now he's not on TV. And then you got Miro he doesn't like the story they gave him, so now he's not on TV.
I'm a grumpy old man.
Yes. Oh, and real quick, I meant to say this because I was talking to Nikki about this with QTV. You can't find anything for Scorpio Sky to do, but you give me that shit? That Scorpio Sky's sitting at home and has been cleared for months. And as far as I know, has not turned down any storylines.
All right, so I want to come back to the pillars real quick.
Go ahead. No, please. No, go ahead.
I was really excited when they first came out there, and they were all there, and he's like, what do you guys want? And they were like, I want a match.
Yeah,
and I was
they're all like, I want a title shot. Yeah, and they all, that was great.
And I think even the ending Fontaine was at the show, and he said that it went over pretty well in the arena, like the people enjoyed it. But then I feel like you could have cut this segment down, given each one of them, like, it's like, do your thing, but do it quicker, and kind of go around and do all of those things. But the dragging it out, and have you fought on Elevation? Have you fought on Dark?
But I still think that's a good point, though. And Moxley,
it is a good point.
Moxley and Hangman, like all the previous champions have wrestled on these shows. MJF has not.
And I think if they hadn't dragged out the segment though and made that point quickly, it would have been like, if they had taken this, it was like 20 minutes, and made it like 8 minutes or something, where they made their get in, get over, get out kind of deal. Each one of them because I think they could have cut those promos quicker. And that's age, but I feel like it would have gotten better, like it would have felt more compact, more like the 4 pillars were coming to get you. Right. It wouldn't have felt so
they were all kind of ganging up on him, and not the
started to drag a little bit, and it became like, and it started to make the stuff that felt like they were burying the company stand out more, because the segment was going
that's a good
on.
Point.
Because you don't notice that stuff when someone's cutting a promo and they're doing it, it's paced well and everything, and they toss something like that in there. You don't think about it as much as when the segment's kind of going there. You're like, well, now they're just very. It's like
now they're having a Twitter session on TV.
But because it did start to feel, it's like you bitch on Twitter, but by the end of the segment, it was like you all may as well be bitching on Twitter at this point.
Right. Yes.
It felt like I want the edited version of that segment. I want one of those guys who edits movies down to like how they should really be. Yeah. I want them to do that with that segment.
Yeah. And I think I think the segment is salvageable. Like, I don't think it was that bad. I see what the problems were, and it was much better than anything that the
I just don't think you would have
Outcasts
noticed if it wasn't as long.
Yeah. And so Don says Scorpio Sky should be traded to New Japan. He'd be the perfect fit in the United Empire. I would not be mad at that. The fifth pillar, Jeff Jarrett, should have been out there doing that segment. Don.
He loves the Jeff Jarrett.
I know. I listened at this rate. I probably would have rather listened to it than.
You know what? I would have Jeff Jarrett been out there and QTV hadn't happened, I'd have been happier.
God, yeah, if that was my trade off. Yeah, I would have taken that. I would have just put Scorpio Sky back on my TV. But I like the idea of the 4 pillars. I like that the 3 pillars are coming. They're all coming for MJF's throat. I like that. I like that they are. The only thing is I don't know, because I wanted a full-fledged feud with Jungle Boy.
Yeah.
Now it seems like they're gonna make him. I guess it's the point of making him wrestle, because that's his whole thing is.
Well, he should be. I mean,
frankly, his whole thing is work smarter, not harder. He's saying
I don't think I can sit through another MJF program of him putting people through trials. I just don't think I can do it again.
Yeah. So now I'm wondering. So do they have like 1 week?
I love the guy,
wrestles Darby, 1 week he wrestles Sammy, 1 week he wrestles Jack, and then we move on to Wardlow? Like, is that how they're handling? Because they're gonna have to. He's got to have, unless they build the story for the 4-way match to happen at Double or Nothing, which that is a really big match, and that could be a Double or Nothing match. They could do a fatal 4-way for the 4 pillars for the Triple B. They could do that. It's just how they get away with MJF. Because do you keep MJF not wrestling the 3 of them until that big match? Or do you have, do they have Darby? Because they did so they were fighting amongst themselves. So I guess we could do Darby. We could do Darby versus Sammy, and then Darby versus Jack, and then Jack versus Sammy. Like, I guess they could do that. Brad says, MJF makes the 3 of them go through a round robin tournament to face him. That would not surprise me. So Brad also says, when I met Kazarian and Christopher Daniels last week, I brought up an SCU reunion and ROH, and Cass said they tried to bring that to Tony many times, and Tony said no one wants that. Tony, that's a damn lie. So no wonder Nikki says, shut up, Tony, you don't know. That's a lie. He's lying to himself. He doesn't want that, is what it is.
Why would they not want that?
TV. Just put Scorpio Sky on my TV. I mean, Kaz is just doing his own thing. Christopher Daniels him and Matt Sydal reunited on Ring of Honor this week. They were ROH Tag Team Champions back in, I think, 2006. So that was a fun match. It made me laugh because he called them Silver Foxes. And I was like, Christopher Daniels has no hair and Matt Sydal barely has any gray, but sure. Sure. But I love them both. Don says, I can't help but be true to my generation. The new generation, Jeff is the last man standing from it. Then we have the last real man, Silas Young, came back to ROH this week. So maybe we have Jeff Jarrett versus Silas Young.
Wow. It's a strange and wonderful world right now.
It is.
Wrestling is all kinds if you can't find something you like, then I don't know what's wrong with you.
Me neither. And then I guess while we're still talking about the AEW stuff, so we did have the Taya stuff. And so I knew before the show started that who her opponent was, because a friend of mine sent me what Fightful was saying, just because he knew I was working on an article about it. So he was like, it's not Taya, it's Nicole Matthews. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, well, that makes sense, because she's Canadian, she just came back to wrestling. I was like, but it feels like Taya. I was like, well, maybe they're saving Taya for the Owen Cup. And then he was like, so we were trying, and he was like, or maybe they bring her back, have her debut separately. And then obviously we got the whole thing. So poor Nicole Matthews got squashed in, I think, 32 seconds. Which, as much as it sucks, I hope that she got a payday out of it.
Yeah.
Nicole got a good payday. And Patches made the comment too, that because we were talking about it, and he was like, well, maybe they're going to use her for the Canadian shows. Like when they're up there, maybe they'll use her more often. Maybe she'll get some payday out of it. So I'm hoping that she will. So Nicole, and they didn't give her and she didn't get a TV entrance. So I knew then, I was like, poor Nicole. Nicole, I wish she had gotten a little bit more, but I was like, some people, of course, were complaining about Jade being in yet another squash match, but I was like, it makes sense because, Jade is basically, she's been through everybody. She's like, she's bored. Give her good, like, she's like, I've beaten everybody in the USA on the roster. Canada, show me what you got. They give her someone who is, she's an independent standout, but a lot of people outside of Canada are super familiar with Nicole. And so I was like, I understand why they had Jade beat her quickly. I was like, I'm not necessarily the most fan of Jade doing squashes, but in that sense, I understand it, especially because it set up, her cornering Renee and was like, and gave her the kiss of death. Then you have Taya come out. And then you have Taya like looking directly in her eyes, which is not many women can do that. Not many people can look Jade directly in the face.
Good point, because she's 900 feet tall.
Yeah, and so she's looking her straight in the face. She never backed down. She stood her ground. So that part I really enjoyed. She took out, she takes out Layla Gray. She does what appears to be the Jaded, except for that is also Taya's finisher. It's called the Road to Valhalla. So it's a move that Taya has done, but it appeared, and even Excalibur was like, she did the Jaded, and I for a minute forgot too, and I was like, oh my god, she did Jade's finisher, like, and then that comes into play on Friday night. So Taya made her in-ring debut. She wrestled a woman named Ava Lawless, who was making her AEW debut as well. She beat her in like a minute and a half, I think. Which is I kind of expected, because she's like, Jade can do it, I can too. But it was interesting because they had Jade and Layla and Smart Mark Sterling standing on the ramp, and he was taking notes, and Jade is fussing at him, and because she did her finisher, which looks very similar to Jade's. And so I think what's going to happen is Jade is going to have him send a cease and desist to make her stop using it.
Oh, hilarious.
I think that's what we're there. That's why, I think that's why Mark
would be a smart Mark Sterling move.
Yeah, it would be, and it makes sense for Jade, because Jade's threatened. I don't think she wants to admit it, but Taya threatens her. Taya is some competition she hasn't had in a while. Taya is not afraid of her. Taya has wrestled around the world. She spent a long time in Mexico training and wrestling, and she has all these things in her arsenal that Jade doesn't have yet. So I think that they could, I think Taya is actually, now that because apparently Taya has signed as far back as February. So I think this has been the plan for, that's the rumor, is that people have known that she signed back in February. I think they weren't sure what was happening with Statlander. And so Taya became available. I think Taya is going to take the title off Jade. I think that's where this is going. I think it'll be a little bit, because Jade is now at 54-0. So I don't think they can't.
It's been a year. It's been.
But the way they stagger her out and have her finishes, I think like she will wins 55 through 59 over the next. It's 10. Revolution was, Double or Nothing is 10 weeks from yesterday, because I counted it out when I was writing the article on Friday night about how I think this is going to play out.
It's a long time. It's not. It's not like tomorrow.
Weeks. I think Taya she'll start wrestling various women in the division. I think Jade continues her win streak, and then I think they either she loses she gets to 59-1 and Taya is that one, or she gets to 60, and then once she gets her 60th win, Taya takes the title. But I still think either way it happens at Double or Nothing. I think that's the story. I think Taya is the one to do it, especially because Ruby she's doing her whatever this shit is,
whatever they're doing.
And they don't, and even if Statlander is cleared, is she because she's been out for a while, like, can they
she's gonna need
put
to
her
come in and start.
can they throw the title? Not that I'm not saying she doesn't deserve the title or anything like that, but like she'll have been out of action for a very long time, and she's gonna have to like get used to being back in the ring and things like that too. So I think that I think Taya is it now, that especially now that I've known that Taya has probably been signed for since last month. I think that's where they're going with it. But it's a really interesting story. I think that Taya and Jade is going to be a lot of fun, and once they finally get, and so I think that's part of the way that's part of the way they stop her is you can't use this finisher because it's too similar to the Jaded, and my client is not serving you with a cease and desist. So then Taya has to find other ways to win matches. I kind of think is how they're gonna do it, and then Taya wins, and then she. So I think then Taya wins, and she can get the title. She can get the title back.
Brad said, I don't think Brad likes that. He said that James would be right about Russo. So because he says, please don't have a match for custody of the finisher.
I'm not saying they're gonna have a match for custody. I think she gets it back then, but they did it with Matt Hardy can't use his finisher because of Ethan Page. That's been happening for months that he can't.
That guy.
He can't do it.
He's
not allowed to. Ethan can use it. Ethan has used it. He's done the twist of fate.
Flipping C&Ds, God.
But Matt Hardy is not allowed to do it. So we'll go back to MJF. It says MJF needs to wrestle more. He has the least amount of matches of any AEW champion, but that's the point. That's his point. But I get it. I do wish he'd have more matches, but that's his point.
That is true. That is the point of him, but it's I agree. How long is that gonna last?
Right. Probably maybe not much longer. Maybe it was just to get through the Danielson stuff.
Maybe. Yeah.
And then so I don't think that they'll have a match for that. I think she just won't. I think Taya won't be able to use it. Then she becomes champion and she'll just start using it. She's going to be like, well, I have the title. I'm going to use it again.
Kiss my arse, beach.
But maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe that's not what they do at all. But it feels like that was the whole reason, because Mark, he took the varsity. They were the varsity blondes, and he took varsity from them so that Tony and Josh Woods could be the varsity athletes. He took it from them. And so it goes right with what Mark Sterling does. So I think that's what they're doing, but we shall see. But regardless, I still think Jade versus Taya is going to be a really good feud. And it's something to make Jade less stagnant, because I know they were waiting. It seems like it's because they were waiting for Taya's debut. But she's at 54 wins. So she's got to get these other wins in.
Snap.
So maybe she beats Taya, and then the rematch is at Revolution. Double or nothing. But I still think, regardless, I think Double or Nothing is the match, and that's where Jade loses the title, because it's where I think it's important for her to lose there, and I think it's important for Taya to win at her first pay-per-view in AEW. Daza said, I think Taya could use the move on Jade. I absolutely see that. That's how this plays out. She beats her with the road
in the end, like in the as the final thing.
That's what,
it's mine, and I'm beating her ass with it.
Yeah. Or
I'm taking your belt.
She'll try everything. Maybe she can't pin Jade the way she normally would. So then she goes to the road to Valhalla, because she knows that's how she can beat her, and that's how she does it. Or just to be like, whatever, you took it from me, so I'm gonna beat you with it.
I'm interested in this. This makes Jade interesting again.
Yeah,
it gives her something to do,
right? And I think because I think so too. And so
they're not just going to lift it off her randomly at this point.
And so maybe they bring her. Oh God, yeah. Taza said Taya looks so much more like a star and comfortable than whatever NXT had saddled her with. Yeah.
Well, when she gets back to when she's back into the framework that she had in something like Impact, where she was herself, and she'll be fine.
Right. And so she's the MLW. She's the first featherweight champion. I did see that she is scheduled for some more MLW tapings. And she is supposed to, it's expected that she will make them. I'm wondering now, because they've set up, so Taya versus Billy Starks is happening next week on MLW Underground.
Okay.
And then Taya and Jessica just dropped the titles this week, so Thursday night. So she debuted on Rampage. The next night on Impact, she lost the Knockouts tag team titles, and then Friday she made her in-ring debut, and then Tuesday she'll be wrestling in MLW.
Nice. She's already on it. There we go.
So Brad said, I loved her coming out to her old La Huera Loca gimmick and theme. That was great. Yeah, that was really cool. I can't wait to see how they're already presenting her way
stuff.
Yeah, and going back to what Daza said, they're already presenting her better. Than, yeah, she looks great. And so I'm really excited. She's a shot in the arm that Jade needed, because and I think some of it was because they were waiting on Taya to get there. So they were but they've got it'll be interesting to see. So I wonder if they bring in women if they continue bringing in women for Jade to get from 55 to 60 or 55 to 59, if they, instead of having her wrestle women on the roster, because she's already made the statement, I've beaten everybody. So I wonder if they'll bring in some other indie people for her. I mean,
maybe when she gets beat, she'll go on excursion to Japan and come back. And
she wants to go to Japan, so why not let her?
If she goes to excursion and actually learns like really wrestling, like amazing, and comes home to like this product, she could challenge for the belt, the women's belt.
Yeah. That they really could.
Because with that look and that charisma, if you know how to wrestle, it's on.
Yeah.
She'll be
and it seems like she really wants to like take it to the next level. And I think even wrestling somebody like Taya, who has wrestled in so many places, that Taya.
Yeah, she's like AAA and everything, right?
Yeah. She is. So yeah, I'm really excited for this, and this is way more interested in this than the Outcasts.
Yeah, me too. I think the TNT belt has become more strangely with Jay, even though she's squashing people somehow, that's been a better story. And
well, and then there were times when she was doing like the 8-minute matches, and so she's had both, and they've kind of gone back, which I kind of understand why they've gone back to some of the squashes with her. But see, Taya's not somebody, and she is going to probably continue to squash. Because Taya is going to be the one that she can't squash. Like, she's going to try to probably hit the Jaded within the first 30 seconds, and it's not going to work. And Taya is going to make her wrestle, a longer match, which she hasn't done in a while. And I do kind of like that she doesn't have to. She's like, I can beat these women. I should be beating these women in a minute and a half. Like, so, and I think that's what she'll continue to do until she gets to Taya. This is where I think that's probably what will happen there. So, yeah.
What do you say?
Okay, so I do want to say before we, as we're starting to wrap up here, I was going to mention this before, but then something else came up, and I think that this is someone actually that I saw Brad mention. So I saw Friday night, a lot of people were talking about a referee named Sean Patrick O'Brien, and I believe he refereed a lot in the St. Louis area, and unfortunately he passed away Friday night. Apparently seemed like it was pretty unexpected, but I saw an outpouring of love and support about him and his family, and just how everything that I saw was just talking about how great of a person he was. And so I definitely wanted to acknowledge that. But another reason I wanted to acknowledge it, because wrestling has been, it's middle of March, and wrestling has been hit hard by some things. We started the year with the loss of Jay Briscoe, and we've had some other things happening. And then for those of you who watch New Japan Strong, then you are most likely familiar with referee Kevin Pierce. I've known Kevin Pierce for several years because he was the PWX. He was one of the main referees there. I'm Facebook friends with his fiance, who posted, oh, wow. Brad said he had an allergic reaction to something he ate. It sent him in a coma, and he passed away shortly after. Oh my gosh. I had heard that he'd been in the hospital, and then it seemed like it happened quickly. Oh, that's awful. And so, but so Josie, she posted about Kevin Wednesday, I believe it was, that he's been having some health issues for a while. Last weekend it got bad enough that he went to the emergency room, and that's where they discovered that he has colon cancer. He has a tumor that's 4 centimeters above the rectal area, and he has some other issues because of that. And so they were waiting when they made the announcement. They were waiting for an MRI to find out the severity / stage of colon cancer that he has. They were in the process of canceling bookings for him. I believe because he is one of the strong referees, that he probably was working. He probably would have been working at the end of at the collective, and that he would have been working the April shows as well, which clearly he's going to have to cancel. He's going to be out of work for a while. Josie, you mentioned that neither one of them had worked last week, obviously, because they were dealing with a lot of things. I have not heard anything yet about a GoFundMe for Kevin, but I assume that is coming, just because obviously he's going to be missing work. And then as they find out more about his diagnosis and his treatment plan and things like that, I'll definitely pass that along. Wasn't sure if I was going to have an update before we went on air, but I didn't check yesterday. I didn't really get a chance to check yesterday, but from last I've heard, there's not a GoFundMe, but I will definitely
anything that comes up for that, you guys will go ahead and drop that right on our main.
Definitely.
Which is at
Powerbombshells. If there ends up being a GoFundMe, even for Sean as well, we'll definitely pass that along, because we definitely want to use our platform to help
all of those
things. Community. So we'll definitely pass that along as well. And I was like, I don't really want to end on a bummer note, but I wanted to acknowledge both of those things that happened, just because, in the wrestling world, sometimes the referees are overlooked, just because there's the referees don't want to be the focus, obviously. They're just there to do their jobs, and so, but they are just as much as part of the show as anybody else. And so I just wanted to make sure that we acknowledged both of those situations. And Nikki said she just checked and there has not been an update on Pierce yet. I'm assuming it's because they are probably dealing with whatever news they were given. But yeah, so I'll post anything. I think
that while we're talking about that, we'll just toss this right up here, is that last week we had Jim Valley on our show, and he is looking for a kidney, and he is an A positive. Of course he is. Blood type, and just because we do have this information, and we'll keep you posted on the other information, and we'll continue to share these things, because the wrestling community, I mean, notwithstanding all of the rest, like, this is where the outpouring of support, there was a lot of talk about being taken care of by AEW as talent, which is nice to hear, things like that, regardless of how it started. But things like that, if you have questions, he's always available. He's very cool.
And he did say
him coming on our show last week.
Right.
Really appreciate that.
Yeah, Jim did mention that if you do want to, I guess, find out if you are a match, you can DM him, and because you have to have certain information of his.
Yeah.
So you can DM him directly, and he will give you that information for you to do what you need to do to be tested. So yes, and we need to make sure that James said that Mel was telling us where you guys will drop the info, but I missed it. So we'll make sure. I don't know that we went back into, I know we had it on here last week, but I'll make sure that we go back and put that on Twitter as well, so that people can find it. And again, he
does have it pinned to his thing. I'm going to make a little, I've got an audio clip of it that I want to put on our thing.
Perfect.
And
that's a really good idea.
We just kind of want to reshare that information as much as possible.
I was going to say, we'll periodically throw that up. We'll make sure it goes up. We can put it up today too.
Anytime we get information with stuff that we talk about here when it comes to helping people in the community, because that's,
because I know, like, Ethan Case, I know he still has his GoFundMe. He's actually going to be he's booking seminars as a way to help him with income. He's booking seminars so that wrestlers can work with him. And Ethan has wrestled for like 19 years, and he's got a school, he's a trainer, he's got a ton of knowledge. So I hope people will take advantage of that. But I'll make sure that we keep putting these links up periodically so that you guys can see them. And of course, any updates that we have will be sure to pass along as well. But we wanted to use our platform to help the wrestling community as much as we can. And so we definitely wanted to.
Notwithstanding all the crazy stuff, it gives us so much joy. And like, we've got this, we've got each other, we've got the places we've been able to go, the people we've been able to meet, that you guys being here every week and being awesome. Like, really appreciate it. Yeah. And like, so doing that kind of thing is like what we're here for. Like, we're here to push wrestling. It's awesome.
Yes.
It's big. It's we get the Kingo and Kenny Omega.
We do. So as much as we do point out and talk about the negative stuff, there is a lot of positive stuff, and we want to talk about that too. And so we try to balance.
We know you guys want to hear what we think.
But
I don't know why.
But then sometimes they give us things like QTV and we have to talk about it. But hey, it's better than some of the alternative things we could be talking about, because there's some shit that went down this weekend and Vince is always doing something. So
yeah, we're staying away from that. We're not going to elevate that crap.
No, we're not going to elevate that guy, but fuck that guy. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. Fuck you. Don't be a dick.
Yeah, that's all I have to say about it. And take some fucking accountability instead of canceling yourself. Why don't you go get some fucking help?
But on the upside of everything, because that'll probably, I think, unless you have anything else.
No, I think that's it. I think we covered. I do want to say real quick though, if you are, except because James, he knows he's killing it over there on Reels with the MLW Underground content. That show has been a lot of fun, and if you want a fun hour of wrestling, I would check that out. They get to run over people with cars, and the fans will cheer about it because the person that was ran over is somebody that a lot of people don't like anyway, and they wish they could live through Mance Warner and with the car.
I really enjoy that hour on Tuesday night.
I do too. Man, Mance versus RSP Tuesday night was great. That match was awesome. They opened the show with that. I was like, this should be a main event, and yeah, then you do get put over for doing it. Yes.
Plus, it's a lot of fun.
It is. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, so I hope that, I don't know what's going to happen to Underground in a couple of weeks with the whole Reels / Peacock situation. But I hope Underground lands somewhere on TV.
Well, I'm going to support it until until such a time as I don't have a choice anymore.
Yeah, so we will so definitely, if you're watching it, make sure you join in and use the hashtag MLW Underground, retweet the Reels channel. Get them over there. So yeah, because the more wrestling on TV, the better. And there's like we talked about before, like they're getting to spotlight people who don't normally get TV spotlight. And then Taya's over there, and you've got even though Jim didn't want us talking about Billy Starks. Billy Starks is over there too, and there's John Hennigan's there, and there's Alex Hammerstone, there's Jacob Fatu, there's so many great people over there, and it's cool and there's Microman, who's getting on TV.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Mance's buddy Microman. And then we had they had Cesar Duran Cesar Duran, he got abducted on Tuesday.
Awesome.
Not from a parking lot.
Oh wow, I was gonna ask.
Not from a parking lot. He was not but he has been abducted, so now there's that storyline. So I'm like, listen, this show can't end because now I need to know. I've got to know what's happening here. I need to know if Manson, what is happening, because now the calling card attackers are coming. Well, I think they have a new name now, but they're coming for him because it's RSP and Raven and Akira. So yeah, there's some good stuff over there too. So there's some positive things to end this show on.
Yeah, there you go. See, we needed to bring it up.
I did. So that's why I was like, make sure. So yes, if you watch MLW Underground with us on Tuesdays, make sure, or if you DVR it and go back, just make sure you're using the hashtag, because it helps them get attention, and that they need that.
And then maybe the powers that be will be like, well, I don't understand. You're stupid. We'll take this show.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're brilliant social media person.
Yes. Sounds like a win-win to me.
And if you want to support us here, and James was in the chat today, and he does stuff over here too, and he's one of the great many wonderful people here at the Fight Game Media Network who just make a lot of great content. We're not just a show; we're also listeners, as we often talk about each other. But and if you want to toss some help our way, that $5 a month, it actually does help do a lot. And if you do want into the Discord that we have available, just give Gigi an email. It's gigi@fightgamemedia.com. Just tell them who you are. Tell them you heard us on the Powerbombshells. Just something to make sure that we know that you're coming in there in good faith. We have a lot of fun doing chats on this, threads on this stuff as well. So yeah, I love you guys. I love my Fight Game Media family.
Me too.
And I love that you guys hang out with us every week. It's really great to have you back, Daza, Nikki, Brad, you guys.
Yes, and thanks to James for popping in. And we had so many people popping in and hanging out with us, and we appreciate that for real. We really do.
Dawn and Gray, we know that despite Don's love of Triple J, we appreciate his information.
We do. We enjoy it. And so thank you for hanging out with us, and we will be back next week.
Have a good one.
Bye.